Hi, everybody. Welcome to Discover College Soccer. I'm excited today to be joined by Coach Billy Colton from Gannon University in Pennsylvania. Coach, how are you?
I'm good, thanks. Yourself?
Hanging in there. It's another beautiful day here in sunny Florida. Not sure what it's like up there in PA in March, but if you're not shoveling, you're doing okay.
Mid-30s, but there's no snow at least today, so we'll take it.
All right. Well, then we'll take that as a win for sure. Well, interested to talk to you. You're the men's coach, Division II program there. So let's talk about the recruiting side of things first. When do you start hearing from players? When are you looking at players, starting to jot notes down, put them on your radar? What year in high school are they typically?
Yes, so it varies depending on international v domestic is a big difference, firstly. And then, for instance, we do very little during the season with recruiting because we have so much going on. We have a first team and a development team, so between us, we just don't have time for recruiting in between that as well. So in the summer, we'll host 2 ID camps, which will be mainly for the following 2 years. So last summer, we had 2 ID camps, and we had another one in January. From them 3 ID camps, we have 11 official visits coming up in the next 2 to 3 weeks that are all 2023s. So we've got people on our radar from them camps that we've followed, and we track their high school season, and they're coming in for their visits. And then, so the ID camps coming up this summer will be a more focus on 23 and 24. We'll start to get names on our board and people we're interested in. Internationals is a lot more short period of time and a lot quicker because generally they don't come available till November, December, January, February. So that's a much quicker process with them.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, you mentioned camps. What besides your own ID camps, do you work other schools' camps, and what tournaments do you like to go to? That are always on your list of where to look at players.
Yeah, so we generally have 3 ID camps a year, the 2 in the summer and 1 in the winter. And then we're quite lucky up here where we have a local company that brings in around, I want to say, 2,000 to 3,000 kids to here. He does high school like pre-season camps. So I'll work them at the end of the summer, and so I get to work with a high school for 3 to 4 days, and then they play games every night. So I get to see who they're playing against. The coaches talk, and you got to come look at this kid or this kid. So that's a nice extra way to recruit. We get to see a lot of players that way. And then in terms of tournaments this year, we're not doing as much. COVID meant we had to do a few different things during the season budget wise. We had to do a lot of individual meals compared to shared pizzas and such. And so we spent a lot more money this year because of COVID. So we don't have the recruiting budget to go as far. So we'll do a lot more within 2 hours, within 3 hours. The local teams, the ones maybe we have a bit of a connection with. Again, the ones that say you should come and look at this kid who maybe we have a bit of a relationship. So we trust him rather than just going out cold and watching a random game.
Yeah. Well, so you said you have a reserve team as well. So, you got a pretty large overall roster then, I'm guessing, between the 2 teams. So, is there a set number of players you're looking to bring in every year, or how does that vary?
We don't have a set number. It all depends on how many we have graduate or leave. So our roster size is generally between about 48 to 52. 48 is the minimum we like because that gets us 24 rather on each squad. And then this year, for instance, right now we have 11 committed, and we're looking for maybe at least 1 more, maybe 2 more, 1 for each team.
Yeah. Okay. Now you mentioned, and obviously your accent is not from Northern PA. You mentioned internationals. Your roster's got a good handful sprinkled in. So, do you have a set target, or is it just kind of whatever works in terms of how many internationals come in? How do they fit into your process?
Yeah, for us, I don't care where you come from. It really doesn't matter. If we can have a team full of local kids, great. If we have a team full of kids from all around America, great, or internationals. The only thing I won't do is I'll never ever be a program that only has internationals. I don't think that's right. I don't believe in that. So we're probably about 50-50 on our entire roster between domestic and international. I find that it's easier to recruit a good international than to recruit a good American.
Hmm.
I'll give you an example. Last year, our budget was much bigger because our season got cut. So we ended up only playing a handful of scrimmages. So we really got ourselves out last year recruiting. We tried to do a lot of ECNL events. I went to the ECNL event in Virginia. After that, I sent between 40 and 50 emails to players that I liked. I took my goalkeeper coach came with me. So we saw a lot of players and a lot of games. From that, I got less than a handful of responses, and I only got one person on campus.
Wow.
And I even contacted the coaches after to say, by the way, I've contacted this player, I've not heard from him. And it's just, I think so many at that level, they have the D1 or bust attitude. And now I find myself getting emails from some good Americans, and we don't have space anymore. We're done. Like,
Yeah.
they have the D1 or bust attitude, and they don't want to consider other schools or other divisions. And it's a shame. There was a kid I was talking to that was 2 hours away. It was ECNL again, and his email responses showed that he was never ever really interested, and he ended up going to a very low end D1, which is fine. That's what he wants. But then when you see the social media post, it's I committed to D1,
Yeah.
blah blah blah. So is the school that important, or is the division the important part?
Yeah, it's one of those hard things that I keep even talking to my own kids about, like, just that it's not what it's about. But anyway, I digress. So you mentioned the emails back and forth, and maybe not being the most interested emails from these students, but what do you like to see in a first email from a prospect?
Don't lie. It's a really basic, simple one, but don't lie to me. Don't tell me I think I'd be a great fit for your school. I've seen you play in this game, and this game, or I've seen so many of your games. Or, I mean, there was one email we got yesterday that was clearly sent to a lot of coaches because no one's name was in the to column, and it was for a 2022 high school senior, and it said, "I've been following your program for a while." It's just straight away, it's a lie. The way I see it is how you react in your recruitment is how you're going to act when you get here. So if you lie to me as soon as you start in an email and in recruitment, you're going to lie to me when you get here. So I have absolutely zero interest in you. So we like the basics, and we like it. You need to treat me like a dummy and tell me the simple things right away: where you play, what position you play, what year you graduate, because that sometimes gets left out, amazingly enough. Kids often put the name of their high school in, but then they won't put the city and the state. And it's a really simple thing, but there's so many high schools in this country. Unless it's close to me, I'm probably not going to know where it is. Any stats, club team that you play for, maybe awards that you've won, and a highlight video. And then rather than say things like, "I think I'd be a good fit," I ask questions. How could I be a good fit? How are these are my strengths. Would that fit into something that you might be interested in? Or and try and get a conversation going rather than, "I think I'd be a good fit. Can you come and watch me?" Because the chances are the amount of emails we get, it's hard to come and watch her just from a cold email like that.
How many emails would you say you get in a typical week or month? I mean, I know it ebbs and flows, but just average it out.
So I'd say December to February is the busiest period. That's when we get the most. And I think anywhere probably between, I think you're probably looking at upwards of 100 a week during that time. Right now it's quietened down quite a lot since in the last 2 to 3 weeks. But yeah, in the height of it, I'd say around, it probably averages out around 100 a week.
Yeah. So let's talk a little bit. Well, I guess I'll go back to you've got an email, maybe you're going to go to a tournament and see a kid, or they're going to be at an ID camp, whatever the case may be. What is your kind of hierarchy of attributes that you're looking for in a player, whether they're on the field or off the field? What are your top, things you got to make sure check the box?
I think on the field it has to be a technical ability to start with. Can they do the simple things to the highest standards? Are they consistent with their first touch? And when they pass the ball, I think there's this misconception that a pass that goes to a teammate is a good pass, when no, sometimes it's a really bad pass and the next person loses the ball and everyone blames that person when really it was an awful pass to them. So, do you pass the ball with the right weight, the right speed in front of them to the right foot, whatever it might need to be?
Were you at my daughter's practice last night? Because I feel like you might have been. No, sorry.
Yeah, the first touch, how often is it in the right direction, or do you kill the ball? And your body position as well, because your body positioning determines a lot in terms of your awareness and what you can see, and then to make that decision. Be it closely behind the technical ability is obviously the understanding, because if you understand these things, then you can, but you can't quite execute them. Maybe we can teach that execution or fine tune it. If you don't understand it, it's a lot harder because they just don't see it. I question a lot more now how much the game's being watched at the highest level, because if you're seeing Tank for the first time in one of our sessions, that's not a good thing, because you're really not going to understand why and how. So, and then off the field, are they a good person? It sounds really generic and really vague, but I go back to the start of the email. Don't lie to us. Be truthful with us. Are you involved in the community? How important are your academics to you? Do you have a plan for when you want to graduate? If not, that's not a problem, but you need to have some sort of direction in where you want to go, because if you can't come here just for soccer and then try and work out a major later. You can come in undeclared knowing that you might go this route or this route or this route and you're not sure, but if you come here just for soccer, the chances of you transferring are a lot higher.
Yeah, for sure. So, you mentioned that you've got, we'll just round and say 50 on the roster roughly. You're NCAA Division II, you've got a limited number of scholarships that you can give from an athletic side. So what is the full scholarship picture again, in academic, grants, athletic? How does it all fit? And how does that all work together to make sure that you get your 50, kids in the door?
Yes, I mean, pretty much everyone gets academic of some sort. How good that is depends on your GPA. And also a mix of, that can be increased depending on USAT, ACT, etc. And then there are other grants you can apply for depending on the type of high school you went to, the area you come from, and things like that. So there's options. They want to get people here. They want to help you come here if they can, and it works for both parties. So we don't have a problem filling our number. We could have a lot more than that if we needed to or wanted to.
Oh, okay. No, that's good. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the school. There's I'm down here in Florida, and I'm guessing a lot of the kids that I know in my club would have never ever heard of Gannon. Now, I grew up in Ohio, so I know about Gannon. But besides me clicking around the website, give me the inside scoop. What are some of the awesome things about Gannon that I might not know about?
Yeah, I think it's a very forward-thinking university. So they try to do things outside of, here's your textbook, go and read it, then we're going to have a test on it. So, for example, we just had 22 business students from a few different majors within the business school go down to the Super Bowl for a week, and they work different events in the lead up to it and then get to go to the game. And that's something we've done for the last 4 or 5 years now. And that's an experience that you can't buy that. You only get that if you go to a school or something like this that has that connection.
Mm-hmm.
We also did that with the baseball all-star game when it was in Cleveland. So they try to give you that real world experience. We have what's called the ecosystem, they call it. It's the small business development center within the business building as well, where local businesses that are trying to start up can come in there and get help with their business plan, marketing plans, balancing the books, things like that. As you start a business, other things come up that you don't know about, and students can work in there and get real world experience working with a real business. It's not just, I know there's classes that do, make up a business and a business plan. Well, here you're actually doing it with someone that affects their livelihood in their real world. I did my master's here, and one of my entire classes was working with a local startup and suggesting different marketing ideas and such. So it really is forward thinking in terms of how can we best prepare you for the real world. Our engineering school is very strong. We have a number of different engineering majors, and we're just actually now starting cyber engineering, cyber business. They call it the iHack building. So it's, looking at what sort of industries are going to be prominent in the future. So I really do think it's a forward-thinking university.
No, that's awesome. Well, you mentioned some really good academic things there. What do you do for your players, or what does the school do in terms of support systems, and how do they help players manage academics and athletics? How does that all kind of intertwine in your program?
Yeah, so for freshmen, we have the mandatory 6 hours of study hall on their first semester. If you get over a 3.0, you get out of study hall. And then at any time during your college career, if you get below a 3.0, that's semester, not Q, you come back into study hall. So we monitor freshman year as well. We get 4-week, 8-week, and 12-week grades. So we can monitor you throughout the semester. Once you're after a freshman, that goes down just to midweek, midterms and finals. So we can still monitor. And we have an early academic referral system. So if a teacher puts into the system a concern about a student, whether it's missing too many classes, or maybe failed a test, or missing homework, if that's an athlete, we get CC'd on that information so we can monitor it. So we also have academic athletic liaisons within the department. So it's really hard for one of our players to be fouling a class and us not to know about it and not to be able to do something. Of course, it doesn't always stop it from happening, but at least that way we know they're not completely on their own, and we can try and get them the help that they need.
Oh, that's really good. What, obviously there's game days and non-game days and that kind of thing, but give me what an average week during the season would look like for a player from waking up to going to bed. How does it work both on game days and non-game days?
Yeah, so it depends if we're home or away, because of travel. So generally, most times throughout the year, we play Saturday, Wednesday, Saturday. So Sunday would be our off day, or that's often when the second team play. We never have them play on the same day. So then Monday training would be a little bit heavier. They'd have classes in the morning. We train at 3 p.m. There would be video up for them to watch from the game before on our own performance. And then they'd have the evening to either rewatch the game or catch up on homework, whatever it is. Tuesday, we train at 3 o'clock every day, so the morning is always class time and early afternoon. On the Tuesday, there would be the video up or the clips up of the opposition, and training would be a little bit more focused on the opposition and how we can stop them, or maybe how we can exploit them. And then, if depending on how far, it might be a travel day. We might travel Tuesday early evening. Wednesday is normally a game day or travel in the morning. And then Thursday would be recovery session with our strength and conditioning coach, and maybe a bit lighter, talk about the game from the day before, go over some stats, maybe do something very light and a bit heavier with those that didn't play as much. And then Friday, we're preparing again for the game on Saturday.
You mentioned your travel. You're part of the PSAC, and for those not familiar with Pennsylvania, that conference seems to stretch from the bottom corner of the southeast to the very top corner of the northwest of the state. So, how much do you guys usually travel? How much that's overnights? What's your non-conference schedule look like, and et cetera?
Well, it's split into the East and the West still. So we only have 6 teams in the West. So all of them are day trips. The furthest one is 3 hours. So that's still a day trip. And then outside of conference, our out of conference schedule is a bit of a struggle every year, to be honest, in organizing it, because a lot of the other conferences around us have more conference games than us. So we are constantly looking for the most amount of games than any of the others. Like the MEC have 16 conference games, the GMAC have 14 conference games, and they're the 2 closest conferences to us. And then even the other side of the PSAC and the East side get 12 conference games, and they've got all the conferences then in New Jersey and New York where they can travel 2 hours and do day trips and find games. We don't mind traveling. I don't mind doing overnight trips. I think it's great for the culture. I think it's great for the boys and getting to know each other and building a good team spirit. So, for instance, next year, our opening weekend, we're going to New Jersey and Philadelphia. So that'll be we'll leave Thursday morning and get back Sunday night, play 2 games. We're going down to DC next year for a game. And then other than that, it's all day trips and home games. But we like to do probably at least 2 or 3 overnights every year. I think it's good to get them off campus, get them some good meals and look after them. The season's very demanding, academics, athletics, so I think they deserve that.
Yeah, for sure. No, that's good stuff. Well, let's talk a little bit more about the team and your playing and that kind of thing. So with a reserve team, and so many players, you're bringing in, like you said, 10, 11, 12 freshmen. What if I'm a freshman coming in? Am I assuming I'm going to be on the reserve team, or am I fighting for first team minutes? How does that kind of work for you guys?
We make it clear before you come in which team we're recruiting you for, where you would start at least. So, for instance, the squad is set for day one. We're not sure yet where you're going to be. And then, of course, it's very fluid. There's movement between the 2 teams. To give you an example, we had one boy came in 2 years ago on the development team, and within 5 days, he was on the first team and just stayed there because he did a lot better than we expected. And so we're happy to say, all right, we got that one wrong. Come and play with the first team. We're never too proud for that. But last year we had 4 freshmen on the first team. One of them started every game and played the most minutes on the team and was the defensive athlete of the year. Another one played 19 out of 21 games and started 15 of them. Another one played 17 or 16, I think it was, and started around half of them before we had a season-ending injury. So we don't care how old you are. We don't care what your year is. Our goal every year with our recruiting class is to bring in better players than we already have. So if we're successful in that, then technically the freshmen should be playing a lot. If a freshman and a senior of the same ability, the freshman would play more times than not, because a senior then is making the same mistakes as a freshman who we have 4 years to work with and to develop. So it doesn't make sense then to play a senior that's at the same level and making the same mistakes. So we certainly don't have that attitude of upperclassmen first, or, I know sometimes that's part of the reason we don't call it a JV team. We call it development, because the idea obviously is then once you become a junior, you're naturally on varsity. Well, that's not how it works. It's the best 24 players will be in the first team that give us the most chance of winning the most amount of games, and the rest will be on the development team.
Oh, makes sense. You had mentioned before you recruited with your goalkeeper coach. So how big is your staff? What roles do each of them play?
So we have 3 coaches plus a volunteer coach. Myself, who oversees obviously everything in the program, and main focus is with first team. And then my assistant is the assistant to the first team and the head coach for the development team. So we have clear responsibilities where he'll focus on the recruiting for the development team, I'd obviously get involved in it still, and he'll do most of the talking with them. But I also send him videos of the first team players we're looking at to get his opinion. But then I'll do more of the talking with the first team players, recruits obviously. And then the goalkeeper coach is also strength and conditioning. He does all our weight stuff, stretching, warm-ups. He's a nutritionist as well. He's very big into that side of it, and he's very good at it. So he takes care of that and goalkeeper recruiting. So we try to split up the tasks as much as we can and have clear responsibilities so we know who's in charge of what. I'll still go to pretty much every development team practice because I want to watch, see what's going on. I'll go to all the home team development team games and the really close ones that are away. So we have a good staff, and then academic wise, I oversee it again and take charge of the first team. My assistant will take care of the development team, and then I'll talk to them if I need to talk to them about their academics. We're actually doing individual meetings right now with everyone to talk about plans for the spring and how the winter went. And we just got midterm grades, so we're going through them as well right now. You're on mute.
Sorry. My dog was barking in the background. So let's talk about off season. You know, it's March. You said you were just starting preseason stuff or getting to the game portion. So what does your typical off season look like?
We're lucky enough to have an indoor facility here. It's about 80 by 60. So the winter season just gone, we trained 3 times a week as a team, and then we did 1 day a week as a small group and twice a week in the gym, plus they was expected to go once by themselves. So we maximized 8 hours a week from the NCAA with the 4 hours with a ball. And then going into spring season now, we debated doing 5 days a week because we have the time, but I actually decided I wanted to keep it at 4 days a week. I think the demands on the student athletes now are more than ever. And I think at times it's too much what we put on them. So I think with 4 days a week of practice is more than enough. Plus we're going to be having 1 game every weekend pretty much. So that still gives them 2 full days to be a college kid and to catch up on their academics and, you know, maybe to go home and see family if that's what they need to do or want to do. So we'll train Monday, Tuesday morning, and then Thursday, Friday night, and then have games coming up starting next weekend.
Okay. How would you describe your style of coaching and the team style of play?
I think we like to have the ball. We like to dominate with the ball when we can. We like to play at the back. We like to high press and win the ball back early. We like to score goals and attack teams and not sit back. I think in terms of our style, I'm very data driven. We have a clear set of metrics that we like based on how we play, that we measure when we watch the game back. And the team has really bought into that. They like to see the stat sheet after a game. We do a lot on shot maps and where we're shooting from, where we're conceding shots from, because that then helps us determine how we want to play and how we get the ball into them areas and how we defend these areas. And we know all this purely based on where goals are generally scored from and where they're generally conceded from. Obviously, you get the 30-yard bangers every now and again, but the 30-yard banger goes in a lot less than a 8-yard scrappy off the knee rebound or whatever it is. So we do a lot on that, and that definitely influences how we play. And I think in terms of style of coaching, I think we're very honest, which sometimes they like, sometimes they don't like. Depends on, you know, we tell them don't ask the question if you're not necessarily going to like the answer. So it goes back with, I don't like starting a relationship with a lie in an email. I'd rather be honest and not like the answer than hear a lie and find it out somewhere else. So I think we're very honest, but I think we're very fair. And, you know, this time of year especially, we want to win our spring games, but we want to see the team develop. We want to see the individuals develop and be ready to push on and really have a strong competitive squad for the fall.
That's good. Well, we've covered a lot of ground, talked about a lot of different things. So my last question is always the same, but it's what didn't we talk about? What didn't I ask? What did we miss, or what else would you want players, prospects, parents, anybody to know about the school, the program, or anything else?
I think recruits need to recruiting's so big now because this year I think there's with what happened with COVID, there's more players than ever for less spots than ever. And that's still going to be in effect for what the next 2 years, essentially, because of everyone getting the COVID year. So you need to find a way to stand out. And sometimes standing out is just doing the simple things right and doing the simple things effectively. I go back to the emails. Don't lie. Don't tell me I'm going to be amazing for you. Instead, ask what can I do to be amazing for you? Like, how can I be a player for you? And that comes down to the video as well. Think about what your strengths are in the video and what you want to show in your video. Because I'm either probably going to watch the first minute or I'm going to watch the entire video. There's not really much in between there. You have to grab me early and make me want to watch the rest of your video. To make it clear who you are, which player are you? Treat me like a dummy. There's no need for replays when you put it on YouTube. When you put it on YouTube, we can scroll backwards and forwards, speed up, slow down. And one of the things with videos that irks me as well is when they do something good, say they beat a man 1v1 and they've still got the ball, and they cut the video and they go to the next highlight. Well, show me what you did with the ball still. I can see you can beat a man, but then is it a decision making? Is it a technical issue? I think that the first impression with the video and the email can certainly be worked on, and being open. There's nothing wrong with contacting 20, 30, 40 schools, hearing a conversation and then saying, oh, actually, you know what, that's not for me, I'm going to move on. But starting with 2, 3, 4, 5 schools and then scrambling at the end is the wrong way to go to find the program. Find the program that fits you academically, culturally, socially, environmentally, and soccer-wise. If I go back to it, and something I've noticed more now is if you pick the program for soccer, the chance of transferring is so much higher. And it interrupts your college experience. You have to go make new friends again. You have to go get comfortable again. So much easier staying at one place for 4 years, being happy, being content, being comfortable, and then moving on.
Absolutely. Good advice there. Well, Coach, I appreciate the time. Really good stuff. Interesting to learn about Gannon. You had a wonderful season, and hopefully you'll crack the Millersville nut a little more this fall, and keep going in the NCAA tournament. So we wish you the best of luck, and really appreciate the time today.
No problems. Thanks, Matt. Appreciate being on it.
Thank you.
Bye.